So, you want to make your own movement shoot again? Well, you're in good hands. What makes you qualified? I don't know, but I made the game you're watching right now. So strap in, put on your favorite playlist, and I'll give away all the trade secrets to show you exactly how it's done. Alright, so the very first thing I'm going to do is nail down the multiplayer. So let me show you how to do some super easy, free multiplayer in Unity. First thing I'm going to do is head over to the Asset Store, or use the very first link in the description, and download Pun2. Super easy, just click Add to Assets, and you're set. Now, to add this to your project back in Unity, go to Window, Package Manager, make sure you have My Assets selected here, and click the Download or Import button down there. Alright, with the entire thing imported, you're going to see a window pop up called Pun Wizard. If you don't see it, go to Window, Photon Networking, and Pun Setup Wizard. Now all we need is an app ID or email. Alright, so head over to the second link in the description, or the one on screen, make an account, and create a free server to link our game project to. Select Photon Pun in this dropdown, give it a name, and hit create. Alright, back in the dashboard, just click and copy the app ID, and then we can paste this into our project and hit Setup Project. Alright, but now we're totally set, and let's get to the code for joining and creating rooms. Right click on the hierarchy here and create an empty game object, and let's add a script to it called Room Manager. Now just watch carefully and follow along. Alrighty, so import photon.pun, and we're gonna remove this update method here because we don't need it. Make a new public string called room name, and by default I'm gonna call it just room. In the start method here, go photon network.connect using settings. And now we're going to make a public override void called onConnected to master server. And the reason we have an error here is because we haven't enabled the callbacks. So if you head over up to where it says mono behavior, add pun callbacks to the end of that. And now the error should go away. Now in onConnected to master, we're going to type photonnetwork.joinLobby, and we're going to make a new override void called onJoinLobby. In this function, we're gonna firstly do photonnetwork.join or create room. So if there's no room by the name of room, we're going to create a new one, and if there already is one, we'll just join that one anyway. And one final method on join room. So in here, we're just gonna have a print statement, and we'll say we're connected and currently in a room. And just for debugging, we're gonna add statements like these in each of these functions. So if something goes wrong, we can see where it went wrong and fix any issues. And in the start method here, we'll have one as well for while we're connecting. Alright, save that. I'll head back over to Unity and hit run. Alright, so now if you look down in your console down here, you'll see all 4 messages being printed. So we've connected, joined the lobby, and created a room. But there's not much going on right now, so let's change that. Go back over to your scene view, go create and plane, and then let's scale this up a bit. And let's also add a bean. So create a capsule, rename it to bean, obviously, and let's move it up and maybe scale it up a bit as well. Alright, now let's make it move around. So firstly, add a rigid body component to it, freeze the rotation on the X and Z axis, and add a new script to it called movement. Up here, we're going to type require component type of rigid body, which basically means that if you add this component to any object, it'll add a rigid body component to it as well. We're going to make a public float called walk speed and set that to 8. Make another one called max velocity change, set that one to 10. Make a private vector2, and this will store our input every frame. And then another private rigid body, and this will store our rigid body component. So in the start method here, go rb equals get component rigid body. And now in update, we're going to set our input. So go input equals new vector2. Alright, sweet. Now to make sure that you don't go faster diagonally, we're going to go input.normalize, and we're going to add a new function down here called fixed update. Below that, create a new vector3 called calculate movement, and make it take in a float of speed. In here, make a new vector3 called target velocity, and for now set this to your input. So make a new vector3, and for the x, type input.x, for the y type 0, and through the z, type input.y. And then do target velocity equals transform direction target velocity. And then do target velocity times equals speed. And then make a new vector3 called velocity and set that to our rigid body's velocity. And then make a new if statement. So if our input magnitude is greater than 0.5, then we want to move. So make a vector3 called velocity change. Alright, so just follow along with what I'm typing in here. Alright, easy stuff. Now, if you hit play, you'll be able to move around your little player. Now let's make it first person. So parent our camera to our bean, reset its position, and then make the Y just a little higher. And now let's make it so you can look around. Alright, so I've made a little pack full of some goodies. It's in the description. Basically import everything in the pack. Alright, so in the pack there's some props, some weapons, prefabs, some sprites. So there's a snow texture, some UI sprites, some crosshairs, but specifically what we want is this mouse look script. So drag the script from the banana pack onto your camera and you're ready to go. Here's the script if you want to copy it down by hand, but it's probably easier to just download the pack from the description. And now if you play, you'll be able to look around and move all over the place, but we haven't made it so the player syncs over our server yet, so let's get to that. By the way, I recommend setting the smoothing on the mouse look to 1, which just makes the game feel a lot nicer. On your bean, add a photon view, photon rigid body view, and a photon transform view, and just copy my settings. Make a new folder called resources. This needs to be spelled exactly the way I do, or else this won't work. And drag your character into the folder to make it a prefab. You can delete it from the scene, and go to your manager and add a new script to it called player spawner. Add photon.pun at the top. Make a public game object for our player prefab. Add some space, and then transform for our spawn point. Make a new public method called spawn player. And in here, do game object local player equals photon network dot instantiate player dot name, and then our spawn point position, and then quaternion dot identity. And now we're set. Just go to your onJoined room method, and in here we're just going to add one line, do get components player spawner, and then type dot spawn player. Back in Unity, drag in your player prefab, and then let's make a new spawn point. Move it up a bit, and then drag that into your player spawner script. Alright, we're super close to being done now. There's just a few more things we need to do. First thing is we need to disable the main camera on the bean by default. So create a new script on your bean called player setup. Open that in your code editor. Alright, remove both these methods here and make a public void for isLocalPlayer. And we're going to call this from a room manager when it's done. Add a public game object for our camera object, and In isLocalPlayer, set camera object to setActive true. Alright, easy peasy. I'm going to reorganize this, drag main camera in, disable it by default, and head over to your player spawner script. Under local player, do localplayer.getComponent, and then let's get our player setup script. And on this player setup script, we're going to call isLocalPlayer. So basically what this does is make sure that everyone's cameras except for our local player is off. So it means that only we can see what's going on through our bean. We're not quite there yet though. If you build this, our movement script is still active on the other bean, which will obviously cause issues. So like our camera, let's set it off by default, head over to our player setup, and from there we can set it active only when it's our local player. And now we're totally done with this video. So if you built your project now, you'll be able to see everyone's little beans running around and syncing up smoothly. Next episode, we'll build on our little movement system. I'll show you how to make a map, make everything look a little nicer, and give the game the sort of stylized look that I've got going on in my game Paint Warfare. Anyways, I'll catch you all later. Bye.